Joining me is Sean Spicer, the first White House spokesman of President Donald Trump. Sean Spicer, great to see you. Look, Governor Walz was not in Hong Kong during the massacre. He was safe back in the United States. What is this latest lie, exaggeration, misremembering? What does it say about this guy?
Well, it says a lot about not just Tim Walz, a pattern of misrepresenting who he is and what he's done and what he's said. We've seen this over and over again. His military record, awards that he's won and lied about. Now this instance where he claimed to be somewhere, which was, this isn't like somebody, Andrew, if you said, were you at, this event last Tuesday, I might have to, scratch my head and think, but to not know that you were in Tiananmen Square when it was happening seems a little odd to me. That's not the kind of thing that you just miss out on. He knew he was lying when he said it, and it's a continued pattern. I hope JD Vance brings it up tomorrow. But it's also a reminder that there are people in America who think because you've made it to elected office, somehow you've been vetted. It's just a reminder that, especially with journalism the way it is, or, currently is in America, just because you are elected once or twice doesn't mean that you've actually been vetted. But I'm surprised, you have now given this issue more due than the American media has. That
is such the story, isn't it? This whole campaign, the pass that the whole Kamala Harris campaign has been getting is quite extraordinary. Normally, someone as inexperienced and goofy as Kamala Harris wouldn't get through the front door, but she's being given a magic carpet ride almost to the White House. You mentioned tomorrow's debate. How important is it? Normally, vice presidential debates don't seem to move the dial at all. What about tomorrow?
I wish I could say it's going to count a lot, because I know JD Vance, and I know that that he'll do very well tomorrow. Contrasts that, his record and his vision with Donald Trump for America. I think he'll wipe the floor with Tim Walz. But I don't know that people actually care that much about vice presidents. I've always maintained that that's not really who you're voting for. If Joe Biden had still been the nominee, I think it might have mattered a little bit more, because I don't think anybody expected him to make it through a second term, and they probably would have wanted to know a little bit more about Kamala Harris. Frankly, let's be honest, we don't know a lot about her even now, in terms of her positions, what she really believes, why she flip-flops on so many issues. But I think it would have mattered more then. Unless somebody screws up, Andrew, tomorrow, which, who knows with Tim Walz, I don't know that it's going to be consequential. More than likely, I think it's going to be a push.
Yeah, I suspect the only influence that could happen is if JD Vance keeps linking Walz to Kamala Harris and says, you're supposed to be the mainstream guy. You're still far left. What does it say about Kamala Harris?
JD Vance really needs to make him answer the question about her. It's not about Tim Walz. Let's be honest. I have a million questions, I'm sure you do too, about his lies, his misrepresentations, his record, his far left views. But tomorrow night is really about forcing him to answer questions about Kamala Harris and hopefully expose the reality of her policies.
Absolutely correct. I've got to say, Sean, and no doubt when you were in the White House, you were worried about this kind of thing too. I'm worried that Donald Trump could be throwing away this election by being so abusive. I mean, I like a lot of what he represents, but the abuse is just too much for me. He'd just win, like you keep saying, by making the case that he was a better president than, Kamala Harris would ever be. Instead, it's now resorted to this. Have a listen.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way.
Now, Sean, I can imagine a lot of voters who are in the middle thinking, I don't need that. I can't think of one that says, hey, I was a bit in doubt about voting for Donald Trump, but now, seeing that, I'm going to.
Yeah, look, I've said this before. You echoed my previous comments. He is playing a great hand with respect to the issues that voters care about. Immigration, border security, the threat of increased crime, the economy and the costs of doing business and taking care of your family these days because of the inflationary policies. of this administration. Like, you don't need to do, if we, as we sometimes say in America, color outside the lines. You got it. It's right there in front of you. The ball is on the tee. Just hit it. When he goes after her in the way that he did in that clip that you just played, it's frankly unnecessary. I understand why he wants to do it. But to your point, this comes down to elections are about addition, not subtraction. And when someone watches that clip, does it make them more likely or less likely to vote for Donald Trump? And it's not just more or less likely in the general sense. Let's look at who matters right now in these final 36 days. If you think that Donald Trump's pugnacious and aggressive style is something that you really, really like, you're already voting for him. He's got your vote. It's the people right now who know him, who wonder about her ability to be commander-in-chief, to stand on the world stage and go toe-to-toe with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and others. And I'm not sure a comment like that brings them into your fold. In fact, it might neutralize them more and say, you know, I don't like her. I think she's extreme. I think she's crazy. I think her policies are harmful. I can't trust her. All of those things, those are all fair criticism. And I think probably would help you. But when you go outside the lines, I just, again, it's not going to bring you another vote.
Sean Spicer, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Of course, Andrew.